but we got to finish one more last thing before that. And that is, obviously, we are a podcast to deal with relative affairs. And wallahi, I really can care less about talking about this anymore because I think it's been talked about, but we are on YouTube and it's a cesspool. And a lot of the people who follow this podcast, I think they may be influenced or somewhat intertwined with other people's followers. So with that being said, this whole situation that took place in the last week or so with this Daniel Haqiqatjou, which I really didn't want to come back to this because I remember we talked about it in the podcast at least 3 weeks ago. This is what led us down the path of talking about the Khawarij for 3 weeks. And from the first podcast, I remember mentioning, I told the viewers, do not look at his stuff. Don't open these channels, not his stuff, but any person's stuff who you don't know who studied. You don't know who he studied under. You don't know what his methodology is. You just hear some good kalam and you go into it. And it's like now, weeks later, it's like, Ustad, can you talk about this? Because I heard
I got that message in my Telegram channel.
And this is what happens.
Ustad, can you and Abdul-Hameed deal with his latest video? Now, I don't know if that brother who posted that message actually watched the video himself. It could be that people around him have watched it and he wants to share knowledge with him. But there's no doubt that the latest video he has done, entitled something Madkhali virus or something like that, I don't know.
Rand Khali.
Virus.
What is that? Rand Khali.
Talking about the Rand report, which is like an American
the agent stuff.
Like an agent think tank agenda related to the government, whereby they want to push secular liberal ideas into the Muslim community.
He's pushing that. Like he's saying that about others.
Yeah. No, he's saying Madkhalis are feds. He's got a whole section called Madkhalis are feds.
He's saying that people that don't take the position of criticizing the ruler publicly are Madkhali bootlickers, basically.
Yeah.
Wow.
You know, and are supporting Rand.
Which is that report, the government.
Yeah. But I wanted to, you put you sent a post of Sheikh Saleh Al-Fawzan on your Telegram group a while ago about this masala of you shouldn't take from anybody until you know where they've studied. Maybe, do you have the...
I don't have it with me, but I remember what you're talking about.
Yeah.
You read this, huh?
And that was like...
I think I might have read it that week. I can't remember.
On the podcast?
Yeah, because we were dealing with taking knowledge from people who didn't have tazkiyat or not.
Yeah.
I think it was that podcast we dealt with it.
All
of this stuff is intertwined. Like, I hope the viewers and the listeners understand it. Islam is so pure and clear that it might seem like we're going back to something, but it's really intertwined. They all connect. You know, as far as taking knowledge from other people, as far as not going back to these people for knowledge, or sitting with the scholars, or what the scholars say about, you know, what is it? Not sitting with people of misguidance. Everything is in one sequence. You get what I'm saying? So it comes off as, to me, it comes off as pretty beautiful because the truth will never contradict itself.
Yes.
No.
So I wanted to just clarify something, because I said those who don't take the position of publicly criticizing the ruler, that's let's give them the benefit of the doubt that position exists, because what we learn as Salafis, Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah, is that the asl is you don't criticize them publicly. That's what we've learned from the mashayikh, the kabir al-ulama. So maybe there's a statement here or there which is like a shadh statement, how would you say shadh, like a weak statement, or you're taking something khas and you're getting rid of, or you're ignoring the whole general ruling, you know, which is what we learn as with our mashayikh.
I mean, for the most part, whatever the proofs that they use, there are very clear differences between those situations and what these people are doing.
Of course.
There's a hadith that mentions man ahana sultan, that whoever disgraces the sultan, Allah disgraces him. The issue is not about the public criticism per se, just like, to mention something ruler's done wrong. La. For example, the hadith of Abu Sa'id al-Khudri, right? He's there with him and he's telling him it's wrong. Indahu, with him. And his intention is to do something about this munkar that he's seeing right now happening, try and change it there and then. Compare that to someone just sitting somewhere else like a news reporter and talking about everything happening in Muslim countries, and then he's not bringing about any sort of benefit, any sort of maslahah. So the whole issue is, I believe that he wants, or these people, they want us to get involved and they want to steer the conversation. They're the ones asking questions, answer my question. We say la. We say la. It's not, we're not here to answer your questions.
Yeah.
This is much bigger than this. This is more about a much bigger issue, which is this whole, we want to rectify the ummah by calling to khilafah, and how to rectify the ummah. This is what the issue is about.
So.
Every single sect that you find from the sects, yes, all of them, they claim the same thing, which is the ummah is in a bad state. How do we improve the ummah state? This is basically what all the different sects they differ on. So some they say by going out door to door, like tabligh. And then you have these people that say no, by establishing khilafah. La. The way you rectify the ummah is through tawheed, tasfiyah and tarbiyah. This is the bigger issue. These are side issues. These are important issues, but these are the symptoms. They're not the underlying issue. The underlying issue is that this individual, Daniel Haqiqatjou, and everyone like him, their da'wah is not da'wah to tawheed. Their da'wah is not da'wah of tasfiyah and tarbiyah, of rectifying the people first, connecting them to the Lord, and then as a result, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give us khilafah. In accordance to the ayah in Surah An-Nur. وَعَدَ اللَّهُ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا مِنْكُمْ. Allah mentions in that verse that He has promised those who believe and do righteous good deeds that He will give them khilafah. Allah has promised us.
No.
But Allah has said, يَعْبُدُونَنِي لَا يُشْرِكُونَ بِي شَيْئًا, under this condition that they worship me alone and they don't commit and they don't associate any partners with me. This is the path towards khilafah. Okay, this is how the Sahaba radiallahu anhum gained khilafah.
Establishing tawheed.
By establishing tawheed.
No.
This is our da'wah.
No.
And this is not the da'wah of Daniel Haqiqatjou or any of his fanboys. Their da'wah is a da'wah of what is a political da'wah. That's why he wants to gather everyone. That's why he's like, the Deobandis are good, these are good, Hizb ut-Tahrir is good. He wants everyone on his side. That's why,
except for the Madkhali.
Except for the Madkhalis. And this is the problem now. The problem is that these people that are on this political call, yes, there are two types. You have the type that are straightforward, forthcoming. They tell you what they're on.
So.
They will attack our scholars. They will say Albani is murji. They won't shy away from that. Yes? They will never quote Bin Baz. Yes? And they will call towards their khubth, and they'll openly speak against the rulers and what have you. That's one side. Those we say, okay, khalas, yani you're courageous, rajul, come to the battlefield. Such a person, we willing to engage. You know? Not in terms of argumentation, but we'll refute them, because now what they have, what they call to, is clear. Now compare that to this individual. This individual, his own audience are confused. His own audience are like, how are you sharing a platform with these murji'ah? You know?
Yeah, the issue goes back to what we talked about already, is the brother and people who might be on the same path, they have not sought knowledge.
Exactly.
And we can't stress that enough. Like, some people may think that it's just some bragging right, or you're putting yourself over someone else or looking down on others. La hada shay, yani it's something which is very important. A person needs to seek knowledge with the ulama, not by way of books, not by way of Google, not by way of YouTube, not by way of Twitter, which these are also avenues that can help you get to knowledge. However, you sit with the scholars, and the fact is he hasn't. I don't even know if he knows Arabic like that to even sit with the scholars. And which brings me to another point. Why is he posting the questions to Masakin people on YouTube? Like me personally, I'm Masakin. Why are you posting it to people who like this? Why don't you?
Take if you're the
exactly. If it's really something that's really pressing you, and it's a really genuine question that you really want to figure out, take it to people who understand. Or how about you ask that legend that you sat there and was quiet with, who were telling you to rebuke this. If it's a genuine question, and I'm not here to judge his intentions, but I'm saying, if you really want to know, فَاسْأَلُوا أَهْلَ الذِّكْرِ إِن كُنْتُمْ لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. Ask the people of knowledge if you do not know, as Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala tells us in the Quran.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it's like I say, it's trying to mix everything. One moment he says, I don't call to rebellion. Another moment he does. One moment he says blah blah. He's just trying to bring everything together. But one thing we need to remember, Ikhwan, is that Daniel Haqiqatjou doesn't speak on his own capacity. He speaks on the capacity of his organization, Muslim Skeptic. Even that video he does, We at Muslim Skeptic, is not a one-man job. And I'm not surprised if he doesn't have a group of these whatever people that are on his ideology, maybe a lot of them influenced by takfiris as well, that come together and bring everything together for him, and he's just a spokesperson that reads it out.
Allahu Alam. I think he's the head of it.
He might be the head of it, but he's got support. He's got support under Muslim skeptic.
You mean influence? People influencing him.
Influencing and support. It's a group of people.
Different authors.
It's a group of people.
Yeah.
I mean, on his website, he's got different authors, and even the videos that he's does, he's got a team of people that work with him and that bring his resources and whatever, and he reads it out and he presents it. But at the end of the day, it's an organization, and this organization, what it's after is just to gain numbers, to gain followers. So one moment he'll play the Salafi tone, another moment he'll play the Deobandi tone, another moment he'll try to appease his Hizb ut-Tahrir Takfiri followers. Yes, to the extent I said even his own followers, they're like, what, Ustad, how are you sharing platform with these madkhalis, whatever.
I think when I think he kind of like got started with just writing articles and stuff, right?
Yeah,
like, I think he used to write for Washington Post, which is a famous newspaper.
Yeah.
So he used to write little what do you say, like columns.
So
I mean, I think that's what the Muslim skeptic thing was supposed to be about, generally speaking.
I mean,
however, you can't apply. I'm sorry, 1 second.
Yeah, no,
you can't apply that to all realms of the religion.
Yeah.
It doesn't give you now the ability, just because you were somebody who wrote something and talked about news affairs, you can't now apply that and then start mixing it with teaching and being like putting yourself in a line of people who have actually spent years at the feet of the scholars and learn this religion through books. You can't do that.
That's the point I was going to say. Like to begin with, the refutations and the teaching about the reality of liberalism, feminism, philosophical liberalism, all these things, like that's his mahal. You know, he studied that, he understands these ideologies. Had he have just stuck to that mahal and not gone into masail of manhaj and aqidah and like, okay, that there's benefit in that, but now the problem is that as we saw with regards to saying that, you know, the madkhalis want to you know, his blood is halal. We saw the brother Muhammad James, Jazakallahu khair, he showed that what is missing is all these tafasil, which the people of knowledge and the tulab al-ilm who really understand masail of fiqh and
100%, 100%.
He missed. He did. You could see that he didn't understand, or maybe he didn't even know that these different furuq from amongst the Khawarij even existed.
Yeah,
this is the problem.
Sheikh Uthaymeen mentioned about like people who are explaining, because I've seen the way he's explaining some of them ayats and things like that. It's not something new. People have come and tried to explain man la yahkum bima anzal Allah, and then go on to explain it in a way that, see, we need to address the roller and blah 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 blah. This isn't new. It's something that's old. That people have tried before who have this path. But he pointed out, Sheikh Uthaymeen, he mentioned that this usually stems from three different affairs. One, a lack of knowledge. Two, the lack of istidlal for that knowledge. And three, su'ul qasd, yani an evil intent. Yani you already, like he's like from the qawaid, a well-known qawaid amongst the ulama, they say that istadil thumma ta'taqid.
No.
Yani get the proof, understand what the proof is for, then believe. La ta'taqid thumma istadil. Don't believe something and then look for a dalil for it. And this is from the alamat ahl bid'ah. This is from the signs of the people.
He really wants to quote Sheikh Albani. Sheikh Albani, all the takfiris almost mujma alayh, they call him murji. Any takfiri will call Sheikh Albani murji. You want to quote? Why is he quoting Sheikh Albani? Because he just wants to reach the Salafis. That's the danger with Daniel.
That's the thing. He wants to cherry pick. He wants to pick and choose.
He's got 40 faces. No, the problem is these faces. Because now, like I said, the other takfiris, they're clear. But now he's trying to go deep into the Salafi community. Like we talked about earlier, the way that, mentioned surrogates. Like you mentioned, they bring someone that is similar to you. Same thing. Then Haqiqatjou is kind of like playing the role of being that person who brings this takfiri ideology into the midst of the Salafis by quoting the likes of Albani, bin Uthaymeen, bin Baz. Like we said, takfiris never quote these scholars. They revile these scholars, they call them murji'ah, and some of them make takfir of them. Hizb ut-Tahrir don't take from these scholars.
Yeah. The reason I say he's cherry picking, because again, that qaida, which is what istadil thumma ta'taqid, yani get proof and then believe, right?
Yeah.
He already believes something. He believes a certain way, right? These type of scholars, Allah knows best if he ever even quoted them before, but he's using them now. Why? Because he's like, gotcha. He's trying to use like a something to bring that audience in and see, look, isn't these your scholars? Isn't the people you take from? It does not understanding that you can go to so many other
the same
books
scholar
of Sheikh Uthaymeen,
Yeah.
and it refutes that same exact point that you're trying to use this little small wedge, which is يعني
Like
متشابه.
متشابه and leaving the muhkam.
Like we were talking about earlier, right?
Yeah.
They take the mutashabihat and leave all the muhkam.
or you take a position that one of the scholars had before
Yeah.
that he took back. Sheikh
Yeah.
Albani, he had positions before that he took back.
Sahih.
Exactly. Sheikh Muqbil as well. He went through stages, but he recanted that. He made tawbah from that. You can't now quote what he said before and then overlook everything else.
Exactly.
So it's cherry picking 100%. At the end of the day, Daniel Haqiqatjou, if anything, Akhil Kareem, he knows how to debate. 100%. Yes. However, he's now trying to bring that debate and those things and those tactics into the religion and into debating against the haqq. You can't do that. That's a game that you can't win. Fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Stay at your place, yes, and educate yourself and make up your mind. Make up your mind who you want to be with. Make up your mind which path you want to follow. تريد أن تجمع الكل ما يأتي. You can't bring all of it together. You want to appease the Salafis, you want to appease the Hizb al-Tahrir, you want to appease the Dibandis or Dibandi fanboy. ما يجي هذا ما يجي. This is confusion. These are different paths, okay? They're different firq, yes? And the only firqa is the firqatul najih is those that stick to the way of the Salaf. You can't stick to the way of the Salaf and at the same time be Diobandi, which sometimes innovated. You can't stick to the way of the Salaf and at the same time be Hizb al-Tahrir. It's not possible.
Just one thing I want to point out, because this is something that, from what I understand, is from the shubahat that he was spreading or that was being spoken about, which is the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu afdalu jihad kalimatu adlin and the Sultan Jair. And the best of the forms of jihad is a speech which is true, and it was translated as directed to the Muslim ruler.
Yeah,
Whereas Ainda, right here, everybody understands this is a dharf. Yani this has to do with being with.
Yes.
Directly, you're with the location with the ruler, but they use it and say no to him. So I'm in America, I'm going to talk about somebody in Saudi Arabia, I'm going to talk about somebody in UAE. This is my kalima adl, and they think it's some type of form of jihad, but this is la hada khata. And they understand the nusus based upon their misunderstanding. Like Sheikh Uthaymeen was saying, they understand the nusus, everything they read they think is a proof for them. They understand it in that light because they have this understanding of what they think is correct. When it's based upon falsehood, aslan. So we ask Allah Ta'ala to guide us all and rectify the affairs of the Muslims. And just a reminder for all of us not to speak in the religion of Allah Ta'ala without knowledge.
I'm still considering, Akhi, what do you think of actually breaking down that video of his?
You know me, Akhi. You know my opinion on this. My opinion is
I wouldn't have done it. It wasn't for the fact that that last video he's done, he's tried to come across as if it's knowledge based, even though it isn't.
I mean, these things are shubahat for the people who haven't studied like that. And I think it would be of a benefit because it's causing a lot of shubahat at the moment. So if you can go through the main points, that's my opinion. Abdul-Hameed has a different opinion. But
I have my other opinion. But I mean, listen. فاسألوا أهل الذكر إن كنتم لا تعلمون.
I'll pray istikhara inshallah and seek some advice from the scholars.